Welcome to Catch with Friends, the White Rose Baseball Podcast, the show where we throw conversation back and forth, just like a game of catch. Joining me today is a man who got 12 varsity letters in high school across 3 different sports. He is the boy from the backwoods, baseball's best blacksmith, and Chicago White Sox prospect, Theo Denlinger. Theo, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. That was a fun little introduction, but
that was a great
basically
introduction.
We want to do a show and tell, and we want to see what's going on around your shop.
Yeah. All right. So I'm in the shop right now. Let me just switch you guys around.
Awesome.
All right. So here's the got a little bit of the grinder, but I'll show you what everybody wants to see. So this is the forge right here. And then here's a creation I just made recently for Goldie, that's his name,
Awesome.
and he is the strength coach for the White Sox.
That's a very, very strength coach style decoration.
Yeah. So I made every single one of these. This is the sword. I call it the Viking Samurai. And then I actually just made this axe or this hatchet recently. It was actually started out as a hammer, and then I flattened down the end and turned the hammer into a point. Yeah. So yeah, this is just some of the stuff I'm working on right now. Buffalo skull, just a bunch of random skulls, bunch of stuff on the walls. Yeah, and this is my forge.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah, and then here's some more projects I'm working on right now.
All right.
Hatchet. Viking style hatchet with a cow femur. And
Love
then
it. How do you get your hands on a cow femur? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, well, you just kind of got to be from the backwoods. So actually, I got it at my buddy Scott Fink's farm.
There you go.
So shout out to Scott Fink for getting me the cow femur.
If you know, you know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you gotta know someone. You can't just get a cow femur anymore.
You
gotta know someone.
Femur guy. That's awesome.
I got a cow femur guy.
That's awesome. Well, if there's nothing else you wanted to show off in your forge, you want to go on to do some questions and everything?
Yeah. So let me head inside and I can get to the questions.
Awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, it's gonna be a little dark here. Just walking from the shop to the house.
No problem.
We can start on the questions if you would like.
Yeah, so I guess anyone who's joining us live right now just saw your forge. I want to know, how did you get started in blacksmithing? Like, what sparked your interest in the hobby to begin with?
Yeah, so what really sparked the blacksmithing hobby was so every year I go to the Rendezvous in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and every year for the Rendezvous, hold on, let me just get the there we go, camera figured out. Yeah, so every year on Father's Day they host a rendezvous in Prairie du Chien. It's pretty much just a bunch of Native American old-time pioneer folk that get together and sell their wares, so their clothing, their food, their just pretty much from everyday or back in the day type clothing, food, and just like kind of like a Renaissance thing. And so every year we go to that for Father's Day, and I saw a blacksmith making some knives out of railroad spikes. And me living in the backwoods like I do, I live right next to a train track, and I have a ton of railroad spikes just lying around the house all the time as a kid. And I would go over to the train tracks, pick them up, and bring them home just because I thought they were awesome. And so we got talking to him and like, hey, this is awesome how you're making these knives out of railroad spikes. Like, we would love to try and learn how to do this and maybe do it for ourselves. And so he actually taught us how a little bit, gave us a little bit of a rundown at the rendezvous. And he had a forge made out of a brake drum from a car. And he said, yeah, it's completely homemade. You can go and make it. He said, I made it for like $5. And I was like, I have $5 to spend, and I can definitely get a forge up and running, and that's exactly what I did. I started with a homemade brake drum forge, and as you guys just saw, my forge and my blacksmith shop has grown a little bit since those dark days in the coal.
That's awesome. So I guess I imagine it started with the railroad spike knives for you, but
Yep.
since then you've shown you've done some hatchets, axes, different types of swords even. What do you think your
Yep.
favorite tool or item to forge has been so far, and why do you think that is?
Um, so definitely my favorite item so far that I've made is the Viking samurai sword that I just showed you guys. All-time favorite item. It was probably the most difficult one to construct and make, and obviously that's why I love it. But also, I just poured everything that is me into that blade. So it's everything I love. You know, it's got the serrated spine. I made everything that is on that knife. So the blade itself was made from a leaf spring underneath a car, and so I took it off of a car in a junkyard actually, and I cut it up, and then I forged it down into the blade shape that we have, and then sharpened it up, and then put a elk antler handle on it, and then even the brass guard on it, I smelted down. So yeah.
So from what a leaf spring, right,
Yep,
to a
leaf
to a
spring.
sword,
Yep.
it's got to be hours of just like hammering away at the metal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, how long do you think you spent just beating it into shape?
Oh gosh. I mean, I I couldn't even count. Probably just beating it, just hammering it. I would say six 6 hours or more. Just beating it into shape.
Which, okay, and that leads me into the question I really want to ask is that, there are all types of unorthodox training, unorthodox ways of increasing arm strength and increasing velocity. For you, do you think hammering away at the metal actually has added some velo to your fastball?
It's possible. So it's hard to say. It really is hard to say. It is possible though. So when I first got into college at junior college in Madison, I topped out at 90 miles per hour, and I've obviously topped out a little bit more than that now. But I've also gained about 30 pounds of muscle since then as well. So it's hard to gauge, whether the blacksmithing did. I can actually say this with almost 100% certainty. It didn't hurt. It didn't hurt
Right.
me getting to that velo. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. When you think, I just think like the repetition of that thing, like it's probably good for your rotator cuff to just get that deceleration motion in and get that from something heavy to, you know, get it to slow down and stop the way you want it to, bouncing off the iron. So I'll give you the credit. I'll say it helped you out.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll say so. Yeah.
we didn't see it in your shop, but you did post on Instagram and I think on TikTok that you made a axe with a baseball bat for a handle. The
Yep.
blade of the axe is shaped like a hand. It's
Yep.
one of the goofiest and awesome, like most awesome things I've seen in a while. Do you have any ideas for anything in that same vein of just oddity of something you might want to try doing or try to make?
Um, I do. I mean, yes. So I come up with a ton of crazy stuff, like the hand hatchet, and so that was actually a custom order that someone ordered, and they're like, "Hey, I want a hatchet," and I was like, "Okay," and then they're like, "But I want it custom made so it looks like a hand," and I was like, "Okay," and then they're like, "I'm also a huge baseball fan," and I was like, "All right, so you want a hand hatchet, but you want something baseball incorporated into it." I was like, I think I can do exactly that. So yeah, I made the hand hatchet, and yeah, it just looks like I actually traced my hand, and that's the hatchet head. So yeah, it worked out perfectly, and the customer absolutely loved it and sent me some videos and stuff of him using it at his home. So that was super cool to see, and it turned out amazing.
Now, did he know that like how you were going to incorporate baseball into it before he saw it for the first time, or did you get that reaction raw?
I I got that reaction raw, so I sent him a picture of it, and I said, "Hey, it's all done," because he kind of said like, "Hey, I want a hand," like I said before, I want a hand hatchet with something baseball incorporated into it, and I was like, "Yeah, say no more." And then I just kind of didn't tell him what I was doing or any of my ideas from then on, and then I sent him a picture of it afterwards, and I'm probably not gonna do it justice to what he said, but it was something along the lines of, "This is absolutely blank crazy. You do such incredible work," and he had no idea that it was going to be an actual baseball bat that I was using for the handle. So he was extremely impressed, and very very happy to get that.
So, for anyone who might have missed the intro, you know, you're a blacksmith, but you're also a Chicago White Sox prospect. And so, one of the questions I'm really excited to ask you about both blacksmithing and baseball, because we talked a little bit earlier. We're both fans of the show Forged in Fire. I want to know if you were to compare your style of play in baseball to a judge or a host on Forged in Fire, who do you think you would compare to?
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. I love Doug Marcaida. I mean, just his catchphrase, "It will kill." Just perfect. It's amazing. He's probably got it trademarked by now, so sorry,
Right.
Doug, for that. But I would have to go something along the lines of that, just because I'm really spontaneous and out there, and I love bringing the energy. And Doug Marcaida brings the energy to Forge and Fire, just out there chopping up pigs and shields and bone, and he brings the energy, and that's exactly what I try to do on the mound out there.
We know that like strikeout celebrations and home run celebrations are on their way in. You might have to find a way to incorporate like the Doug Marcaida slashing into like an inning-ending strikeout celebration. I think that would be really popular. You might even get a retweet from History Channel, you know.
That's
Um,
true.
so I also want to go back to the intro. I mentioned you were a three-sport varsity athlete for all 4 years. So that's 12 letters total. There's a lot of debate on whether young players should specialize in baseball if they know that's what they want to do, or they should do other things to kind of work different muscle groups. What role do you think playing all these different sports played in your development as a baseball player?
Yeah, so with that, I think the absolute biggest thing is to be a or not even a three-sport athlete. Just get some sort of other athleticism involved in your repertoire, and put it in your toolkit. You know what I mean? Because so not only do you want more athleticism, whether it be basketball, wrestling, or football, or whatever else it is, it also lightens up on the amount that your arm is taking as a young kid, and growing up, just trying to build that arm strength up, and not just completely tear it down the entire time by just focusing on baseball. So I really think that like playing basketball, playing football, and those sports helped me to not get too ahead of myself from where I was to where I am now. Because I believe if I played baseball all year round, focused on my knowledge of the game, would be a lot more depth. But I also think that my health would be a little bit more at risk for all the strain that would have put on my arm throughout the years. So I really think, and I'm not saying don't specialize, because you can specialize. I'm just saying take it with a grain of salt on doing just one sport the entire time, no matter what. I would definitely try and be a multi-sport athlete.
Was there like a point for you where you were like, oh, baseball is it? Or did you kind of already know that going into high school that baseball was your favorite? Or where did it kind of click that that's what you wanted to do, you know, further into your career?
Yeah, so actually my senior year of high school, I paid tuition at the University of Dubuque to go play football. So yeah, I was actually going to play football in college. And the coaches loved me there. They were talking to me. And so, yeah, but an unfortunate mishap happened with my brother. So my brother played for the University of Wisconsin. He was a lineman there. He was right guard for the University of Wisconsin, and he had a career-ending injury, unfortunately. So my parents sat me down my senior year, and they're like, "Hey, listen, we really don't know if football is a good career path for you to take." They're like, "Hey, but you've always been like pretty good at baseball. Like, we think you should give that a try." And I was like, you know what? I think I would like to. I think I would like to give baseball a try as well. So I put football on the back burner, and I went and had a tryout for Madison for baseball. And the coach at Madison, Coach Davenport, was like, "This kid is going to do some pretty incredible things with baseball." So that was really cool to hear. And then as soon as he said that, he's like, "Listen, you come play for me and we can get you to some places." And so I actually revoked my tuition at the University of Dubuque. And then I went to Madison College to play baseball.
Was there any resistance on your part, kind of like giving up on football and switching over to baseball, or was it kind of easy for you, seeing your brother get hurt, where you're like, oh, maybe my parents are right, I don't want to do that, or were you kind of like, but I want to play football?
So I think I always loved football the most, just because growing up in my household, my father played football and rugby in college at the University of Loras. So I really always, and then obviously seeing my brother play at Division I University of Wisconsin, like the Badgers. Every kid in Wisconsin dreams of playing for the Badgers one day, and he got to live that. And especially coming from a small school, which we came from, which is extremely small, him being able to do that and live his dreams at Madison was incredible. And so, yeah, I always wanted to play football, but then when he got hurt and I saw him in the hospital, I'll never forget that. And that shook me up pretty badly. So I was like, you know what? I really didn't need much talking out of football. I was like, yeah, football's a very dangerous sport. It's amazing and I love it to death. But it's very, very hard on the body. And so I would much rather take my chances with baseball. And I'll give my brother football. He can have football. He's the football guy of the family. And I decided to take baseball, and that's doing pretty good.
There you go. And I guess you had mentioned how small your high school was. I read online that right now there's about 239 people in the grades 9 through 12. So that
Yep.
comes out to a graduation class of about 60, right?
Yep.
Was it difficult to kind of develop in those sports and develop those skills? I mean, it must not have been super difficult if your brother went on to play in University of Wisconsin and you're now a professional athlete, but were there times where being at a small school made it more difficult for you to kind of grow into the game?
Yeah. So there was, I mean, for any of my coaches that went to my high school that might be watching, that follow me on Instagram, I'm sorry. But there was little to no education on the sport that we were playing. It was pretty much just, hey, run out here. Like, you're going to do a 5-yard out and in and catch the ball and run to the touchdown. So that's, and along the lines of baseball, there was, yeah, again, not a whole lot of coaching. Pretty much just like, hey, throw strikes, get outs, do your job. So yeah, it was difficult in that way. And then the biggest thing was being seen. Was we have no way of being seen, pretty much, unless you go to camps and tournaments, and if you played like AAU or different things like that. So it was very hard to be seen unless you were doing things like that. And pretty much, I would say 90% of my entire school, and probably maybe not still today, because of Sluggers baseball and the work that Drew Richard and Kyle Spurley are doing with the guys there at Cuba now. But I never had Sluggers baseball. when I was in high school. So it was very hard to get out there, be seen, and do things like that. So where I learned almost 100% of my baseball knowledge was in college at Juco, and then at the Division I level. That got me to where I am, and then also working with Kyle Spurley and Drew Richard.
And I know your experience at Juco, like you mentioned, it got you a visit at Bradley, which is the college you ended up at. But during that visit, you were in crutches. What was it like to show up to this D1 college visit, in crutches? And do you think like they were expecting you to be in that state, or was it like?
They were definitely not. So the pitching coach gave me the invite, and the head coach, Elvis Dominguez, who is like a second father to me now. But on the first day I met him, and on my visit, it was a whole different story. So yeah, I walked in, we were sitting down at the table with the pitching coach. He was running through a slideshow of some stuff, saying like how big the campus is, what the curriculum is, stuff like that. And the head coach walks in and he goes, "Hey, so like you're the new recruit, huh?" And I stood up and I shook his hand from across the table. And then he was looking around and he looked at the crutches, and my mother was with me as well on the visit. And he goes, and he looked at my mom and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like, how did you hurt your foot? And like, what's going on?" And my mom is like, "No, these are actually Theo's." And he looked at me and I was like, "Yeah, I blew my knee out at junior college, and I'm on my visit now." And he looked straight at the pitching coach and he goes, "How could you bring a kid on a visit in crutches?" And he just walked out. And I was like, "All right, nice to meet you too." Obviously, I came there and I did put up some good numbers for him, and we still laugh about that day, and we talk about that day like, wow, that was that was pretty crazy, pretty intense when we first met. But now it's like I said, I'm pretty much his part of his family and his son, and he's like a second father to me. So
After that reaction, was there like a moment where you were like, "Oh, this might not happen for me"? Was it like that serious for you?
Yeah. So as he was walking out, he looked back at the pitching coach and he said, "If this kid comes here, it's all on you. And if he doesn't perform, it's on your ass." And he looked, and then he just walked out, and I was like, "Wow, okay." And then the pitching coach looked at me and goes, "He's just a hard ass. Just don't worry about him." And I was like, "Yeah, let's not worry about the head coach. Yeah, let's just forget about that."
You
Yeah,
mentioned.
but it was, sorry.
No,
You
no,
go.
go ahead.
I was just yeah, it was pretty intense when it first happened, and then when I actually got there in the fall and started doing, and this is when I was off crutches. I started doing workouts, started throwing, and he goes, "You know what? Like, yeah, we made the right choice with you." And he did apologize. He goes, sorry for the way I acted right away. It just caught me off guard." And I was like, "You know what? Completely understandable. If roles were reversed, I'd probably be like, 'Hey, what are you doing? This guy's on crutches coming for a visit." But no, yeah, so it's all good now.
Clearly you were a pretty talented player coming out of JUCO to get recruited to D1, but I imagine a lot of things changed for you from getting to that school to getting where you are now. You were in the top 250 draft picks in your class. What do you think clicked for you at school, and how do you think, like, what things do you think made you make that jump?
Yeah, so it really all clicked at Bradley, and that's when I found my role is at Bradley. So they had me starting to come out of the pen. I wasn't a starter. I came in more as a reliever my first year, and yeah, so they had me coming in to, in the fifth inning, sixth inning, like guys were getting in trouble. Hey, get them out of it. And then my first year there, things kind of opened up in the closer position because our natural closer, who was there first, Al Beer, he got hurt, and so they needed someone to step up. And I was the guy to fill those shoes, and I was doing pretty good right away coming out of the pen. And they're like, you know what, we're going to trust you with trying to close down a few games coming here because we don't have our number one closer. And I stepped up, and I remember the biggest game I had was against Dallas Baptist, who is one of our all-time rivals. Hate them, they suck. But I came in, closed the game down, and got the save against Dallas Baptist on Friday night, and it was absolutely electric. And from then on out, I became the closer at Bradley, and that's when things really started to click. And just having the coaching staff there, and Andrew Werner, he really shaped how I thought about baseball and how I thought about pitching, and just like what to throw, when to throw it, and how to throw it. So he definitely completely shaped who I am now as a pitcher.
I imagine like going through that experience, obviously you have better facilities than you're used to, more knowledgeable coaching than you're used to, and just a crazier environment in general. But what was that D1 experience like for you in terms of like spending time with your teammates and doing things on campus? Was that a little bit different than it was at Juco?
Yeah, it was a little more intense. Obviously, the class schedule was a little bit more intense, studying. So, yeah, but it was a lot more fun and a lot more inviting, because obviously being on a big campus such as Bradley's was a lot better than Madison's campus, which, you know, it was kind of smaller and you had to commute there. Where I lived just a block off campus, so I could walk onto campus at any time. And so it was really good having that. And then obviously the camaraderie of all the guys being pretty much in the same location was great. And then just going over there, studying with them, having classes with them, and just all around, it felt a little bit more like home than it did at Madison, just for the commuter aspect of Madison, where this felt like I had a place at the campus and with all my guys together.
And the reason I asked that, because, you know, to touch on that camaraderie and everything like that, our baseball careers overlap in almost no ways. I think I top out at 68 on the mound on a very, very good day. But one thing we have in common, I was a freshman in college during that, you know, notorious 2020 season, and that would have been your senior season. What was it like when you found out that there wasn't going to be a season? Were you guys together? Was it at a meeting setting? What was that experience like for you guys?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, because we heard about, you know, COVID going around and stuff like that, but I think all the baseball guys, and I think everybody in America, kind of thought like, oh, that's just a hoax, like that's nothing, it's just gonna come and go and just gonna fade in and out and be gone. And then, yeah, the Coach Dominguez called us all together, and he's like, listen, guys, we're going to be shutting down campus here soon, and games are going to be coming to an end here, and you guys are actually going to be going home. And so just hearing about that was like, oh, damn. And it just kind of killed all of us a little bit inside, especially to not be with the guys, and, you know, you're still going to school online, and you're just sitting in your room doing classes and going to class. And yeah, so it was pretty shitty. But coming back that next year, it made everybody at Bradley, and I'm assuming all across the country, that much more hungry and ready to be back on the mound, be back in the ballpark, and just getting after it.
Yeah, I think that one shared experience that like every collegiate athlete at any level of anything had was, I feel like we were all seeing the news. I think the NBA was the first to cancel, and a couple of things were following. But even as you're getting the notifications, it was like this experience of, well, that's not going to be us. You know, it's like we're fine. We're already playing our preseason games, and I'm sure we'll have our season as regular, but then when that news hits, and you guys are all together, I imagine there were a lot of seniors who were thinking, I'm not going to be able to come back. And it was that kind of crazy emotional moment. But like you said, it made the team stronger and come back together. So what kind of season do you think, I guess, how do you think that camaraderie, like of that hunger comes back and help the team perform the next season?
Yeah, so we definitely came back, and like I said, we wanted it more. Everybody was hungry, ready to get back. And so that next season, we did pretty damn good, and we really got after it. We struggled a little bit with injuries and just trying to find ourselves a little bit, but then we really started to make some headway about halfway to the later part of the run there at the end. So yeah, obviously it took a chunk out of all of us, collegiate athletes, and obviously high school, just pretty much everybody. And but like I said, we came back that much more hungry and that much more ready to get after it and do our thing. And I know that me and Brooks Goswine, so we both got drafted from Bradley. We came back that next year like, all right, this is because that 2020 season, the draft got cut down to 5 rounds, and me and Brooks both thought we were going to go in the draft that season, and then it ended up not really working out there. So that next year we came back and we kind of looked at each other like, all right, let's get it. This is our year to get drafted and to really put in the work and do it. So and we did, which is awesome. And I'm actually on the White Sox organization with Brooks, former Bradley player. So that's incredible to have him by my side and to do that.
It's cool to hear about like the transition from JUCO and to D1 and all the resources and changes. And like you said, it was hard to get exposure or opportunities being from such a small high school. But I think one of the levels of your collegiate career that was so interesting to me that I didn't get a chance to ask you about yet was your summer ball experience, because it seems like you got a lot of attention during your last season of summer ball. What was the summer ball experience like for you?
I love summer ball to my absolute core. Because it's college baseball without the homework. Literally the life. The best thing any baseball player could ask for. You get to play baseball the entire summer with your boys. You don't have to worry about homework. All you have to do is worry about go to the field and get a win that night. So it's pretty much a little mini version of what the pros is like, and I loved absolutely every minute of it. Just showing up to the ballpark every day, didn't get bored of it one single time. I love summer ball through and through, and that transitioned over into pro baseball as well. Because there's some guys that come to the field and they're like, oh, like, God, this sucks. Just walking into the field every day. I'm like, we're getting paid to play baseball and show up to the field and work out. We're getting paid to work out and like goof around with each other and just hang out all day. And then we get to play a child's game for money. Like, you are kidding me if you think this isn't the best thing in the world. And yeah, so I love summer ball through and through. Some of the best experiences and memories of my life. And that's actually where I met my fiance as well. So yeah, summer ball just keeps on
Well,
delivering.
now I got to ask you about that story. I didn't even know that. You met your fiance playing summer ball.
Yeah, with the dock spiders
What?
in the Northwoods. So she goes or went to St. Norbert, which is in like the Green Bay area, and the Dock Spiders is in Fond du Lac, which is about an hour away. And then we play the Green Bay Booyah, which is in Green Bay. And so she had one of her friends was kind of talking to and hanging out with one of the guys on the team, and I was single at that time, and so I asked the guys like, hey, does anybody have a girlfriend or a friend or just someone that I can talk to, or like a friend of the girlfriend's? And one of the guys was like, yeah, I'm talking to a girl right now, and she has a friend that like wanted to come to one of the games and hang out. And I was like, yeah, bring her. And so yeah, she came to one of the games, and we saw each other. We exchanged phone numbers, and pretty much history from there. She just kept coming back to the summer ball games, and then she came to Bradley games, and now she's coming to White Sox games. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. The journey that we've had from summer ball to Division I baseball to now professional baseball. It's been one hell of a ride, and she's been by me every step of the way.
That's awesome. So you go from a high school class of 60 kids to Juco. You think you're going to play football originally. You go to Juco, play some baseball there, to D1 baseball, where you become the closer, and then you go from backwoods kid to closer at a D1 school to the Riz King of the Dock Spiders. I wanted to ask, obviously it played a role in your relationship, seeing it's how you met, but do you think it also like played a role in getting drafted, and what level of involvement do you think playing for the Dock Spiders had in ultimately getting drafted?
Yeah, so playing for the Dock Spiders, we actually won the championship that year, and I was the closer to shut down the final game of the championship, and I was at the bottom of the dog pile. By the way, most terrifying thing ever. You would I mean, it's obviously at the time it's like yeah, and then once you fall to the ground and you feel like 1,000 pounds of body weight on top of you, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Plus you have cleats going by your head, and guys like fists, and they're falling off the pile. It's yeah, so that I got a little sidetracked there.
No, not at all.
But yeah, the dog pile's crazy. But yeah, that definitely played a role in me getting drafted, me finding my way kind of through my own journey of who I am as a pitcher, and what my role is, because that was kind of the like I said, going to Bradley, and then that summer having the summer ball experience of my life, winning the championship as a closer and closing down the championship game. It really set in stone, like, you are a closer. You come in when the game's on the line and you shut it down, and that's what it ingrained and instilled in me, and I still have to this day, and I will not forget that. So yeah, I am a closer because of Bradley and because of summer ball.
And you mentioned, like, obviously a lot of memories because you're just there hanging out with your boys, more or less. There's no homework.
Yep.
You mentioned the dog pile. You mentioned meeting your fiance. Are there any other memories from being a dock spider that really stick out to you in some of your favorite moments, or some of your favorite memories from your playing career so far?
Yeah, so probably one of my favorite memories that will stick with me through summer ball is in the semifinal game to go to the championship. I also closed that game down. I came in, game on the line. I think we were up like 2, maybe 3. So there was a little bit of leeway, but obviously not too much. And coming into that game, I remember walking out to the mound, and I remember the crowd just cheering my name. Thousands of people just literally chanting my name. And then the final out of the semifinal game, and I have a video of it. I struck the guy out, and I did a huge fist pump. And I kind of looked at the crowd, and I was like, "We're bringing the championship here." And so that will be one of my favorite memories. Obviously the championship game as well, and the dog pile, and in the championship game, when I came in to close in the 9th inning, they were chanting my name again, and then I think I was topping out at like 98, 99, and
Crazy.
the gun only has like two
Right,
numbers.
yeah.
so it doesn't go to 100. And so they were chanting, break the gun, break the gun. And then I remember I reared back on one and it said 0-0 on the board, and the entire place erupted. It was, and that's going to be another memory that it will be with me forever.
That's awesome. So had you hit 100 on the gun before that, or was that like the first time getting out and seeing, I mean, obviously you didn't see the number, but almost
Yeah,
seeing the number up on the board?
yeah, yeah. I believe that was the first time I ever hit it or ever saw myself hit it. So I may have in a bullpen or in another game that we didn't have the gun up there, but I remember I was always at like 98, 99, and I was like, oh, I just gotta break that cusp, and I just gotta get over that hump. And I remember I reared back on it in the championship game, and I was like, I got to do it for the fans. Like, I don't care where this ball goes. I don't care if it goes to the backstop, whatever. And it was actually a strike, so that was more impressive. But yeah, I reared back, and yeah, so I believe that was the first time I ever saw myself hit 100 miles per hour, and yeah, it was crazy. And then the entire place just erupted. So yeah, love that.
I would not have been able to pull it back and start pitching normally again after that. I think once I would have seen 100, I would have been trying to do it every pitch after that and gotten pulled right away. Was there a moment in your head where you're like, well, I can't do that every pitch?
Yeah. So the very next pitch, I tried to rear back, and I think that one went to, or it was close to the backstop, but the catcher like caught it, and it was a crazy pitch. And I think that one was like 99. And I was like, all right, just get back to it, reset. And I did. I reset, and I got back to it, and I got the job done. So yeah, it was crazy. And then yeah, like I said before, I got the championship win and got dogpiled.
That's awesome. So, and we talked about now all the levels from Bradley to the Dock Spiders, and you mentioned that you thought you were going to go in the draft in 2020, and then it got shortened to 5 rounds. You did get taken in 2021 in the 7th round. I imagine you had to have been talking to at least a couple of teams before that. Did you know that you were going to get picked by the White Sox? Did you have a pretty good idea, or was it just like?
I had really no idea, like zero. So I knew there was a chance, but it always comes down to like, well, like, is it gonna be me? Like, is this actually gonna happen? But I definitely put in all the work to make it happen. But my agent was the one that was in charge of getting a hold of the teams, talking to the teams, and so everything went through, like, straight through my agent. So I was playing summer ball at the time with the Mallards, and he said, don't worry about like getting drafted, about the draft. He said, don't worry about any of that. I want you to focus on summer ball and putting up the best numbers you possibly can, and just doing your thing out there on the diamond, and I will do my thing in the office. So he did a lot of the work on the back side of that to you know, talk to teams, reach out, send video, and do all of that. And so I really had absolutely no idea. And when it happened, I was actually on the road with the Mallards. I was on the bus, and we're on, I think it was like a 9-hour drive all the from Michigan, and then we went all the way up and around Michigan through the Upper Peninsula, and then down back to Wisconsin, and then we went to Wisconsin Rapids. And I remember the bus was like 15 minutes away from the ballpark in Wisconsin Rapids, and everybody was on their phones, like watching the draft, watching their buddies get picked from college. And so like every once in a while you would hear guys like, oh yeah, he got picked. And then it'd be like, oh yeah, my buddy from Vandy got picked like in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, like whatever it was. And so I really didn't pay much attention to it. And I was already stressing like, oh God, I hope I get picked. So I wasn't even watching it. I just had in my AirPods, and then I had music just blasting because I didn't want to hear like, oh, this guy got picked. I just wanted to tune out the world and just you know, whatever happened. And so I remember we were about 15 minutes away from Wisconsin Rapids, and the entire bus just freaks out. And so I kind of like take an AirPod out, and I was like, dude, what is happening? Why is the entire bus going crazy? And then I remember I like leaned up and I was like, what's going on? And every single one of the guys on the bus immediately looked at me, and they started like dogpiling on top of me. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And and then they're like, you got picked in the 7th round by the White Sox. And it was just, they were just going absolutely nuts. And I remember my phone started ringing, and I looked down, and it was a Chicago area code. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like, everybody shut up. Like, I gotta take this call. And then I get on the line, and he's like, hey, this is JJ Lally with the Chicago White Sox. Is this Theo Denlinger? And I was like, yes, it is. And he goes, hey, so we just picked you in the 7th round of the 2021 MLB draft. Are you interested in signing with us? And I kind of like stood there for a second. I was like, yeah, I would love to. So yeah, that's the crazy story of how I got drafted and had absolutely no idea what was going on or that I even got drafted. Yeah, I was pretty much the last one to know on my team that I got drafted.
And I imagine being on a bus full of dudes who are all celebrating and cheering and excited for you. There wasn't much quiet time. But when you did get the chance to get off the phone with White Sox and make a phone call of your own, who was the first person you called, and what was that conversation like?
The first person I called was my dad, and yeah, so me and him do everything together. So we blacksmith together, and obviously we've played catch and done sports, and he's been my coach all the way up to high school pretty much for everything I had. But yeah, the first person I called was my dad, and he was with my mom. And it was tough to try and hold back the excitement and hold back some tears, because all the hard work was finally coming to fruition. And yeah, so he was the first person I called, and he kind of, you know, he did the same thing I did. He kind of took like a moment, and he's like, shut up. And I was like, no, it's true. And he goes, I am so damn proud of you. And yeah, so it just brought everything full circle and brought it together. And it was incredible.
And then this is just more of a question for me than it is for the listeners, but I got to know, after that point, you know you've been drafted by the White Sox, you know you have full intentions of signing. How long does it take you to get on MLB.shop and go and buy all the White Sox apparel you can find?
I didn't actually. Yeah, I didn't buy a single thing of White Sox gear. Yeah, so I don't know if I should say this. I'm actually a Cubs fan. So yeah, so I actually I had to clear out my closet and make a little bit of room for some new gear to come in there. And yeah, so I remember it took about I think about 10 days to go from being drafted to moving all of my stuff home from Madison, and then going to Arizona for, you know, extended spring training and things like that. So I didn't really have time to process and buy stuff and do all that. It was kind of just like, hey, I need to get home, I need to pack, I need to be with my family for a little bit, and then I got shipped off straight to Arizona. So there was very little time to you know, to let it sink in and to be like, wow, holy shit, I got drafted.
That's awesome. And I want to talk about, now that I know that you're Cubs fan, obviously you were a baseball fan coming up. What was like the first oh shit moment? You're in the minors. Was there someone that you pitched against or that you knew was going to be very good, or maybe was on a rehab assignment? Was there a moment pitching where you were battling against someone where you're like, this is really crazy. This is someone who has a lot of talent?
Yeah. So I mean, all you got to do is just look to your right, look to your left, and you see a guy that is a big time name or the cousin of whoever that is been in the bigs forever or is a Hall of Fame player, or his dad was this guy that played for this team. And so yeah, you look around you and you are completely surrounded by like talent and fame and fortune. And yeah, so me coming from Cuba City, Wisconsin, and being around these guys that are wearing $10,000 chains around their neck is like, what the hell are we doing? So it's, yeah, it's insane. And so I actually backed up 5 MLB games when I was at spring training this year, which means I was actually in the bullpen with, the big boys.
Right.
So I remember my first backup. I go in there and the coach looks, or the pitching coach, the bullpen pitching coach looks at me and goes, "Hey, I know you're new, obviously. Just kind of kind of fly under the radar. Don't be a fanboy. Don't do just lay low." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I can do that." And then I remember sitting down because I was the first one there because I was like, I just want to be out there. I just want to get there. And then all the major league guys just come out 5 minutes before game time, and they're just like whatever. And I was there like 30 minutes before game time, already ready, like. And so I remember sitting down on the bench in the bullpen, just like looking down, tying my shoes, doing whatever, and I see a shadow go past me, and I look up, and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And he goes, "Hey, what's up, man? What's your name?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm Theo Denlinger." And he goes, "Oh, cool. I'm Garrett Crochet. Nice to meet you."
Awesome.
I was like, "Yeah, I I do know who you are." So that was insane. Seeing him, meeting him, talking with him the entire game. Loved that. And then so he sits to the right of me, and we're just chatting, hanging out, and then guys start to fill in. It's like 15 minutes before game time. Guys start filling in, and then it's like 5 minutes before game time, and they're about to close like the gate, and you hear a guy go, wait, and he kind of slides through the gate and comes in, and he looks at all of us, and well, let's just say he says some words that it would be just with the boys.
I was gonna say I know who that is just from that description.
Yeah, and so I was like, holy shit, that is Liam Hendricks.
Yep.
And so he comes over and sits down and slides over right next to me, and he's apparently known for harassing the new guys. So he sits down right next to me. And he starts talking to me, and talking to Liam Hendricks is something I will never forget my entire life. And just chatting with him and hearing his stories, and him coming at me a little bit and kind of throwing some jabs and like, "Hey, what's your name?" "Oh, just kidding, I don't care." And it's like, all right, yep, that's Liam Hendricks for you.
I think the fans got to see a little bit of that at the Field of Dreams game, and that mid-game interview. That was awesome. I mean, if you're going to be sat up in a bullpen, I can't think of a bullpen better than the White Sox bullpen to be hanging around. Obviously, you were trying to lay low a little bit and maybe not fan out too much. But did you pick up any tips or any advice from any of the guys? Like, who gave you some advice, and what did you walk away with?
Yeah, so Garrett Crochet is the nicest human I've ever met in my entire life. Like, so obviously me being a new guy and being in there for the first time, and still, being in the minor leagues and not being on the major league team, they don't owe me anything. They don't need to talk to me. They don't have to, I'm nothing to them. And for him to come over, sit down, and he's like, "Hey, so what do you do? Do you have any hobbies?" And obviously we got started talking about blacksmithing, and he loved that. And so me and Garrett Crochet really hit it off as soon as we met each other and as soon as we started talking. But he was the one that really took me under his wing. So like I said, I backed up 5 MLB or Major League games in spring training this year, and every single time it was actually with Garrett Crochet in the bullpen as well, and just being with him and talking to him about baseball and about mechanics and about my mechanics and his mechanics and how he does things and how I do things, and just the differences in our mechanics, but also the similarities, and like how both of our mechanics just smoothly go so well. And just talking with him was extremely eye-opening to the world of baseball and how much knowledge there is out there. And yeah, so like I said, he took me under his wing, and he was the most helpful and nicest guy I could have met, and I had the pleasure of meeting this spring training.
And I guess if there was like a 14, 15-year-old pitcher listening who's thinking, I want to get, better at pitching and I want to get to this sort of level, is there anything talking to Garrett Crochet that you learned that maybe you could pass on to someone in that position, or is it all insider baseball for right now?
No, it's not insider baseball. It's just baseball. Like this is he dropped knowledge on me that, I mean, anybody would know or should know or could know. It's so yeah, like I said, he gave me a ton of pointers. But probably the biggest thing is, dude, you already made it to where you are. There is nothing stopping you besides yourself to making it to that next level. And that's what I've carried with me the entire way. So from low A, or from extended spring training to low A to high A to double A, and then hopefully this year triple A in the majors. There's nothing standing in my way besides me. And that goes out to every kid out there. No matter what sport you're playing, you are the one that sets your own ceiling. So why would you even put a ceiling on yourself? Like, why would I ever tell myself or tell someone else, like, you're never going to be able to throw 100 miles per hour? Because you're immediately setting a ceiling on that person. You have no idea what they're capable of. I remember, so I was actually going to play football and baseball at UD, the University of Dubuque. And I remember the baseball coach wasn't too interested in me. He never heard of me, which, makes sense. Come from a no-name town in a no-name school. And he came to one of my high school games, and he told my dad and me to my face at the end of the game, he's like, yeah, you have a weird arm action. Like, I don't think you'll ever be able to throw above 90 miles an hour. And that, I remember that lit a fire under my ass. And I was like, you know what? I will be able to throw that and more. And yeah, so I guess the advice I would give to any kid listening or anybody out there listening is just don't set a ceiling on yourself or anybody else, because you have no idea the potential and the capability that you have.
That's awesome. And I think you briefly mentioned you've played now at, is it 4 levels of minor league baseball since being drafted in 2021? That's quite the jump from, like you said, you commuted in junior college, but you were still kind of at home when you went to the school you ended up at. And was there a culture shock moment, just all this moving around and having to get used to new cities and even just new teammates? Like, what's that experience like?
Yeah, so professional baseball is an experience that is unlike anything. Like, I don't know, it's insanely, it's just insane. It's hard to describe. So when you get moved from, like, when I got moved from high A to double A, I came in the clubhouse and my locker was packed, and I was like, what the, like, is someone messing with me? Like, what's going on? And then this is immediately after the game, and I just pitched that, and like, I closed down the game, got the save in high A, came inside, and I was like, why is my locker packed up? Like, who's messing with me? I thought it was one of the guys. And then the trainer came in. He goes, hey, the manager wants to see you. I was like, oh, okay. And so I walked in his office and he goes, "Hey, Theo, come in, sit down, close the door." I was like, okay. So I walked in, closed the door, sat down, and he's like, "Listen, man, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you're no longer going to be with us." And I was like, what? What do you mean I'm no longer going to be with you? And he goes, "Because you're going to the next level." And he stood up and like gave me a hug, and I was like, what the hell? That's no way to tell somebody they like this. It's like, what the hell are you doing, man?
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
so that so yeah, it's definitely a culture shock. And then being around guys that have played at Vandy and or just got drafted straight out of high school and they sit like 96 out of high school. You're like, what? Like, who
Right.
the hell? Like, so yeah, it's definitely a culture shock, for sure, coming from a small school to now being in the White Sox organization. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is being next to guys that like, oh yeah, my dad is in the Hall of Fame of baseball. You're like, oh, nice. Like it's just insane.
I know you kind of mentioned that conversation in the bullpen when you were backing up for the major league spring training, but even after that conversation, just being in this position where you're seeing guys who are drafted out of high school or went to Vandy, is there a moment where you kind of have to remind yourself that you do belong there? Is there that kind of imposter syndrome? Does that ever settle in, or are you kind of just cool the whole way through?
Yeah, so that definitely so that happened when I actually backed up my first game. I was like, hold, this is Liam Hendricks, Garrett Crochet, like all of these guys are millionaires, and here I am, like just a nobody from a no-name town, and I'm in the same bullpen as these guys. And then I remember Garrett Crochet told me, he's like, dude, it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from. Everybody started out where you are right now. And I was like, damn, yeah, you're speaking straight facts. It's very true. And so ever since he said that, I've not once had a moment of like, wow, I don't belong with these guys. Ever since Garrett Crochet kind of, told me that, it's always been I'm here for a reason and they're here for a reason. Like, so we're both on the same level right now. Like, I am in the same bullpen as Liam Hendricks. Do I have the statistics and the salary and the years of, baseball experience to back that up? No. But am I in the same bullpen as Liam Hendricks right now? Yes. How did I get in the same bullpen as Liam Hendricks? By being who I am and doing what I do. And so ever since that day, I have not had a single day go by where I'm like, I don't belong. I don't belong on the White Sox. I don't belong in this bullpen. And yeah.
And I guess you kind of mentioned like you do have that realization that everyone was where everyone once was where you are now, and you do feel like you belong. I think the biggest difference between uh, major league and minor league, where they play and where you play, then is just how much accessibility the fans have to the players, and that's a great thing for the fans because you get close and see everything, as perfect and pure as it is meant to be. But for the players, I imagine you're also a little bit closer to some chirping and trash talk. Do
Oh
you
yeah.
have a favorite line that you've heard or a favorite memory?
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a guy this year, when we were playing the Trash Pandas. So yeah, by the way, probably the best name in the minor leagues is the Trash Pandas.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, so we were playing against them, and their bullpen, it literally has like right next to our bullpen is a bar, and there's like a little area where you can rest like your arms, drink a beer, and watch the bullpen, and it's like you're almost face to face with the fans. And I remember I was warming up to go in the game, and there was a guy pulling up my high school stats, my college stats, like, and he was like, "Whoa, you had a blown save against Missouri or like MSU, and just throwing out all these different things, and like, oh wow, you really sucked against Valparaiso this year or like that year. And so I remember this guy was just chirping me nonstop, and I remember like I got called to go in the game, and he actually got up and walked all the way around, like, and he was chirping me as I was like walking into the game, to the mound. And I remember I closed down that game and I got the save. And he came up to me afterwards and he's like, "Hey, way not to suck today." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, man, appreciate it." And so yeah, there's a ton of chirping that goes on, especially at those minor league parks where the fans are on top of you, and there's been a lot of drinking, and yeah, but it's all in good fun, and it's never gone too far, or at least what I've experienced. I'm assuming there's, instances where it has gone too far, but usually it's just drunk college guys trying to get a rise out of you and trying to make you mess up so their team wins. So that's you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that at the minor league level. You're gonna have that at the collegiate level, and you're gonna have that at the major league level. So why not get used to it now, right?
Right. And you kind of say you have some fun with it. It's all in good fun. It sounds like it's not too hard for you, or it hasn't been so far, to not get upset or angry about it. But are there times where it's hard to keep a serious face and keep looking straight forward, where you just want to like look at it and be like, "That one was good. I like that one."
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some pretty crazy guys out there. So I remember. So there's a whole lot of like, hey, like right hand for this, left hand for this. And I remember our left fielder was really getting chirped the one day, and they were just like this whole fraternity was there, just chirping our left fielder, like, hey, right hand this, left hand this, and he wasn't really like playing the game. So every time he came out into left, they were just like booing him, and they're like, you suck. And every time he went up to bat, they would actually walk from left field, like all the way behind home plate. And they're like, wow, you're our and then they got like his girlfriend's name. And
No.
and they're like, hit a home run for, blah, like whoever. And he was getting chirped so hard. And you gotta tip your cap. Like that's some, like those guys did some research. Like those guys were looking up his Instagram, his everything. They found his mom's name, like his girlfriend's name, and it was, yeah. You get some pretty creative college guys out there that get a little drunk at baseball games. Get some pretty good chirps.
That's awesome. I know you mentioned the left hand, right hand. I'm glad you did, because I went to 30 games across different levels of professional baseball last year. I think I heard that at least 30 times.
Oh my God, yeah.
I'm sure it's fun the first time. Do you think it gets old for the guys in the outfield who probably hear it every day?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's guys that just like, oh dude, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna throw it up so they go away. And but yeah, every time, and we even start chirping our own guys, and like we chirp our guys. We chirp the other bullpen sometimes, like, hey, good luck, don't suck, like as they're walking in. And but it's all in good fun. I mean, you're never like, hey, like, I hope you hurt yourself, or like, it's all in good fun. It's like, hey, don't give up a nuke here. But it's awesome. And obviously there's a lot of guys that have been traded, or they were on different teams, so they're actually watching their buddies go in from the other team that they were once playing on. Like there's one of my buddies, he played for the Royals, and then got traded to the White Sox, and he was playing with us. And I remember one of his buddies was going into the game, and he went up to the fence in the bullpen, and he's like, hey, Brandon, good luck, don't suck. And then he ended up giving up a home run, and he's like, oops, like, shouldn't have said that. But it's all in good fun, because then he texted him after the game, like, hey, good job out there, way to give up that home run. And so it's just the back and forth. And there's camaraderie amongst the team itself, but then also amongst all the teams, because you play the same teams the same guys, over and over again. So you get to have those relationships, not only with just your teammates, but also the other teams and the players there.
Yeah, I read a book by Dirk Hayhurst called The Bullpen Gospels, which is his memoir, and it's all about the experience you're going through right now in a minor league bullpen and the chirps and the games. And he talks a little bit about some of the bullpen games. And I know we saw the Orioles had a version of bocce ball where they were trying to land the ball close to home
Yep.
plate. Do you guys have any bullpen games? Is that in your repertoire?
Oh yeah, we have bullpen games. So we actually had guys get yelled at this year by the manager because they were playing bocce ball in the middle of a game. And the manager's like, dude, like that just makes you look like you don't care, like you're not paying attention, which, it does. But then we have a game that's called Password, and you play that. Have you heard of
No,
Password?
I've not. You got to fill us in on password.
Yeah. So, Password is just pretty much trying to get the other person to guess, the password, the code that you and your partner have, or you're trying to get your partner to guess it against two other guys. So it's you and your partner against another guy and his partner, and the other person leans over and they whisper a word, and it could be a famous person, it could be anything. Usually we go with either famous people or just different things like that. So it could be like Will Smith, and then you have to. So each person gets a turn saying one word. So it'd be me and a person against my partner and their partner, and then so I'd lean over and be like, all right, it's Will Smith is the password. And then he gets one word to try and have his partner guess, and then I go and I give one word, and then it kind of goes back and forth until they ultimately guess it. So like he would say movie, and then I would go star. So they would have like movie star, and then they'd be like, okay, and then they'd guess some names, and then it'd go back and forth, and you just try and get to guess the name. And that's easy because you can sit down, watch the game, and you could be playing password on the bench, like right next to, and you don't have to like take your eyes off the game. So
That's awesome.
that's definitely a good game.
Is there a champion of password? Is there someone in the bullpen that's the best at it?
Me and Fraser Ellard are extremely good at password. So he's an intellectual. He is very, very smart. And we'll just leave it at intellectual. But
All
yeah, so
right.
he is very smart, and so he comes up with like really big words that he knows like his opponent and their partner won't get, but he kind of knows that I would know what that word would be. I remember one of our favorite ones to do was like astrology, or big words that some of the guys would be like, oh, what could I think of to say here? And then so yeah, we are definitely the champions of password in the Double-A Chicago bullpen.
That's awesome. And we talk about, the minor league experience, kind of hanging out with the guys in the bullpen and chirping. One of the other things that's unique to minor league baseball that you don't see in the majors is that guys will come down for rehab starts. And while you were in, I want to get Birmingham for
Yep.
Double-A,
Yep.
Yasmani Grandal came down and
Yep.
was rehabbing down there. Well, first, I want to know, what was it like to have him in the clubhouse? I imagine it was a little different than being in the bullpen in spring training, because now this guy's kind of coming into your house, so to speak. What was it like to
Yeah.
have him there?
It was incredible. So he actually provided me, like personally, with some knowledge. So he watched me pitch the very first night that he got there, and I came into the clubhouse the next day after my outing, and I walk in there, and the trainer looks at me and goes, "Hey, Yasmani Grandal wants to talk to you," and I was like, "Oh, like what?" And he goes, "Yeah, he's waiting in the training room for you. Like he wants to talk to you." I was like, "Okay." And so I walk in the training room, and Yasmani Grandal is laying on the training room table getting a massage. And I was like, oh, like, I can come back. And he goes, no, come in. And I was like, all right, what's up? Like, I heard you wanted to talk to me. And he goes, yeah, hey, so I saw you pitch last night. And he goes, your shit's elite. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, your shit's elite. I just wanted to give you a few pointers because, and I think I did pretty good, but I think I gave up one that night. I think I still ended up closing down the game, getting the win, or not the win, but giving our team the win.
Right.
But I think I struggled a little bit that night, and I think I walked a guy or two, and so he kind of came in and he's like, hey, listen, your shit is sorry, and he goes, your shit's elite. And he goes, you just need to throw that fastball at the top of the zone, and you need to throw that two seam down and in to righties, and you need to throw that cutter in to lefties. And he goes, you're going to be set. I was like, oh, okay, nice. And so hearing him say that about my stuff, and just calling me, like, because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to take the time out of his day to say that and to offer those words of wisdom and just talk to me at all, but he did. And that was another thing, kind of like the Garrett Crochet thing, kind of like Liam Hendricks talking to me, but him pulling me aside and saying like, hey, your shit is elite and it will play in the majors, but this is what you need to kind of focus on going forward, and this is kind of what you need to work on. And so him telling me that was amazing, and having him there to see my stuff, and him being potentially in the future a Hall of Fame catcher. I mean, he's been doing it for a decade or so now, and so having him say that about my stuff and talk to me was pretty incredible. And then also after every single game, he bought us like either a steakhouse or sushi or whatever it is. Yeah, it was great having him.
That's awesome. So he handled the spread. I know that's customary for guys on rehab starts. Was he the only major leaguer who came through for a rehab assignment while you were in the minors?
Yep. Yeah, as of so far. Yep.
Right. So you mentioned a couple of the things he had. Did you have a favorite spread or a favorite night of food provided by Yasmani Grandal?
Oh yeah, Sushi Saturday.
Sushi Saturday.
Oh yeah, he went all out. He got us huge trays of sushi, and all the guys loved it. And then so it was like sushi mixed with like a little bit of hibachi stuff. So you could either have sushi or hibachi, and or you could have both, which is what I did. I'm definitely a spread crusher, but yeah. So yeah, that was by far my favorite thing was Sushi Saturday.
How long was he down with you guys doing his rehab assignment?
Yasmani Grandal was with us for about about a week, and then he went to Charlotte, got a few more hacks in, got a few more starts there, and then he was back up with the major league team.
And you mentioned the conversation. He watched you pitch on the first night. You mentioned the conversation on the second night. Was he down there just hitting, or did you have a chance to throw to him either in game or in a bullpen? Or
no, he was just there to hit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I would have loved to throw to him and with him, but unfortunately he was just there to hit and get some innings in, get some hacks in, and then he went to Charlotte. I think he got a few more hacks in. I think he might have caught maybe once, maybe not even that. And then he went back to the majors.
And you mentioned kind of earlier how moving through levels of the minors is unceremonious in that you get out of the game and your locker's already packed up for you. Is it kind of the same on a rehab assignment where because sometimes they have more of a schedule, you know who's going to be there for about how long? Was there a goodbye, or is it just like, oh, Yasmani's gone today?
So it was pretty much just like, hey, Yaz is going to be here for a week, and then he's going to be gone. So we knew he was going to be there with us from Tuesday until Sunday. So and then he left on Monday. But yeah, so we pretty much knew his timeline and like when he was going to be there, when Yasmani Grandal was going to leave. So it was pretty formal in that regard. But there was no like, hey guys, thanks, this is awesome. It was just like we went home for the game on after Sunday, and then you come back in on Tuesday, and he's no longer there. So yeah, there was no like,
Right.
hey, this has been a pleasure. Appreciate you guys, but yeah, there's nothing like that.
That's cool. And we talked a little bit about just like the varying levels of access you had to training and drills and even just knowledge from a high school with 60 people in your graduation class, give or take, to all the way to double A now and major league spring training. What are some things that you're doing this off season now that you've kind of accumulated all that knowledge and even probably some things to work with in terms of equipment? What does your off season look like this year?
Yeah, so my off season this year is pretty much just getting after it in the weight room about 5 times, 6 times a week right now. And then I'm also getting started on throwing again. So yeah, I'm starting that up, getting the arm ready to go back to spring training. And I am leaving February 17th is when I report back to spring training. So extremely excited for that. Extremely excited to get back after it and see what I can do this coming year. And there's been a lot of talk from, you know, the higher ups in the White Sox that have been saying some pretty good things. And then also just a personal feeling of like, this is my breakout year. And I'm going to do some hopefully some special things this year. And yeah, I'm just ready to get after it. And this off season, I've really been getting after it, whether it be blacksmithing and getting the arm in shape that way, because that's one hell of a workout. I'll tell you that. You definitely spend an entire day in the forge, and you come back inside, and you're like, holy crap, I'm gonna feel that in the morning. But yeah, so this off season's been going good so far, and I assume it's gonna continue to keep going.
And you kind of said like that, maybe keeps you from wanting to throw, but you also mentioned like you play a kids game and it never gets old. When you get shut down after the season, like, oh, this is my period of not throwing, is there a day where you ever look at the glove and think, oh, I kind of want to go and throw today, but maybe I should just let it rest until February?
No, not, you don't. Yeah, you don't let it rest up until February. There's some guys that might, but you definitely want to be ready so you can hit the ground running in spring training. Because
Right.
they want you to be ready to go in spring training. Because I know, you get there, you get like 2 days of like physicals and some talks and things like that. And on the third day, it's like, all right, let's see what you can do in a game. And
Right.
it's go time. Yeah. So I actually didn't show you this yet, but yeah, I got my gloves here with me right now.
Oh,
So
this
this
is
is
what I wanted
this
to see. Yeah.
yeah, this is my glove from last year. And it's a good one. Got the
Yeah. Put
socks.
that Sox logo up to the camera. That is so cool, man.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, personally made. My agent gets all of these for me. Shout out to Andy Lewis for getting me free gloves from Rawlings, and the best ones you can get. And then here's the new baby for this season.
Oh, okay. This is an unveiling.
Oh
Nice.
yeah.
Look at that
Unveiling.
web.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I've seen that web around Instagram, but I haven't seen it in use yet. It must be a
Yeah.
new pattern. That's crazy looking,
Yeah.
man. I'll show that you got gold palm stamping too, it looks like. That
Oh
is
yeah.
so sick. Pro preferred. Was the
Oh
last one also pro preferred or was it hard to hide?
yeah. So it's pro preferred. It's just it's been used in games a
Right.
few times, so it's worn off there. But yeah. So this is my baby this year. You will see me with this on the mound for the White Sox this year. So that's yeah. I'm very happy to have this guy there. And yeah, I love the colors I got going here.
That's so cool. Are you on some sort of glove deal or is your agent just kind of funneling them into you and you can get
Yeah,
whatever you want?
I call my agent. So I customize the glove completely myself, and then I send it to my agent, and he gets it to me like the next week.
That's awesome. And I know
Yeah.
because I'm also a glove guy. We're all glove guys. I got the
Oh
white
yeah.
rose on there.
No,
What does
all
the
good.
break-in process look like for you in terms of getting your glove ready for the season?
Yeah, so pretty much, so this is actually, this is, pretty new still. I think I've only worn it about 2 or 3 times actually playing catch. But yeah, the break-in process pretty simple. You just start here, and then I like to just get the palm. So you just get in there, grind it up. Some people think it's bad for it. It's definitely not. These things spring back to life. Trust me. Watch. You can put it all the way down, springs right back there. It's gonna be the same. But yeah, so you just got to work it in. And what my little secret is if you take a hot shower, put your glove in the bathroom with you while you take a hot shower. The steam loosens up the leather real good.
There you go. That's something I've actually never heard that before.
Oh yeah,
And you mentioned getting the palm loose for breaking in the glove, things like that. I'm trying to think, playing catch, going through the process. You're not one of the people who's worried about things like bending the fingers over, bending the finger back. Where do you stand on other people putting their hand in your gloves? I know some guys go crazy about it, some guys don't mind.
yeah. So it's a huge thing in the baseball world. You don't put your hand inside another man's glove. It's kind of like you don't put inside another man's wife. It's pretty much the same thing. But so for me, it really doesn't matter because I get my whole hand up inside my glove, and I got some pretty big hands. So it really doesn't matter because whoever puts their hand inside my glove is not gonna ruin it, is not gonna misshape it. But if I were to put my hand inside someone else's glove, then it'd probably be a problem.
Right.
But yeah, so you never put your hand inside someone else's glove. That's just baseball 101, but like behind the scenes. You just never do that.
Do you wear it just fully traditional, 5 holes, 5 fingers, or do you go
No, I
finger
go
out, two in
two
the
in the
two in the pinky?
two in the pink. Yeah, yep,
There you go.
yeah.
Very cool. That's very cool. And you get kind of the palm exposed. I could talk about baseball equipment all day, so I'm gonna
Oh
force myself
yeah.
to move on. I have a couple of fun questions written down, just stuff that I think is kind of interesting topic, might make good clips. Where do you stand on celebrations in baseball? You know, some people push back, some people love it, some people hate it. What is your stance on things like pimping home runs?
If you hit a home run off of me, you can pimp the shit out of it. But if I strike you out to end the game in the ninth inning and I get a save, I'm gonna do a fist pump, I'm gonna scream, and you're gonna hear about it. Like, I'm not gonna look at you and be like, yeah, I
Right.
struck you out, but I'm gonna get the fans going. It's about the fans. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the fans and it's about the boys. If you want to get your team pumped up and like let's get it going, like let's try and start a rally or let's win this game, you pimp a home run. You throw your bat, I don't give a shit. Like you earned it. You hit the home run. Like it's not like you're doing it. It's not like you're like, oh yeah, like let me point my bat, like I'm gonna hit a home, because that's like, you haven't done it yet. But if you hit
Right.
a home run and if you pimp it, yeah, it's whatever. But you have to expect me, if I strike you out, I'm gonna let you hear about it. I'm gonna let the fans hear about it. You know what I mean? So it goes both ways.
And there's that evolution of now with guys who are on these platforms like the King of Juco, who, celebration and trash talks a lot of what he does. And we see even the players getting into it, a lot of bat flips. And we've come a long way since the Jose Bautista bat toss for the
Oh
Blue
yeah.
Jays that sparked a lot of controversy. What are some
Yep.
other areas you think Major League Baseball maybe could improve the fan experience, or maybe the baseball culture outside of Major League Baseball organization, but just the players? Like, what are some changes you'd like to see being made as you work your way up to Major League Baseball?
I mean, I think we're doing pretty good so far, and but I think just getting the fans more involved, like with everything they do in the booth, like having the fans, like, everybody get on your feet, it's the ninth inning, like let's let them hear it, you know what I mean? So getting the fans involved that way, it honestly, coming from a player aspect and player point of view, it gets me fired up. If I see my home fans on their feet going crazy in the ninth inning, I might rear back and let one eat, and get a number up there on the board, and I want to get a win for my fans, especially if they're going crazy. So I think it's all about the fans, because they get us pumped up. I mean, you get a bunch of drunk frat guys behind you, and they're like, "Let's go! Like, let's freaking do it!" You're like, "Hell yeah, let's do it!"
That's awesome. I'll throw you this is I think this is a fun question. Yeah, Yaz excluded, no spreads from Yasmani Grandal. Just being out and about in the city, because you've now played in a couple different areas. Who is the best food that you've experienced while either at home or on the road for baseball?
Oh, okay. Honestly, Birmingham's barbecue is to die for. Me being a northern kid, you have barbecue joints, but you go down south and you go to Birmingham, Alabama, and you go to Fat Greasy or whatever the joint is down the street from the ballpark, and there's a guy outside with just an apron on and pants, like no undershirt, and he's cooking your food. You know it's going to be the best barbecue you've ever eaten in your life, and that was definitely true. The best barbecue I've ever had, and it was amazing. Birmingham, Alabama did not disappoint on its food.
That's awesome, man. This has been such an incredible experience for me to get to ask you a million questions and grill you on all these different things. It's only fair if I were to open the floor to you and say, is there anything that you want to say as an outgoing message to anyone who might be listening about you or about anything in general? Is there anything you want to put into the world?
Honestly, just kind of what Garrett Crochet told me is, do not set a ceiling for yourself or anybody else. So don't tell anybody else, like, hey, dude, I want to be real with you. You're not going to be able to do this. Or, hey, like, I can't do this. Do not set a ceiling for yourself or anybody else, because that just limits yourself or whoever you're talking to. So yeah, that's honestly probably my biggest takeaway from professional baseball and Garrett Crochet and just everything this year is, don't set a limit for yourself, because once you reach that point, you're like, oh, there's no room to go above that, because I already put a limit on myself. I put a ceiling there. So I can't go above what I told myself I couldn't already do. But if you tell yourself, dude, sky's the limit, I'm going to throw 106 miles an hour next year, what is stopping me from doing that? I mean, yeah, maybe some physical inabilities or, whatever, but could I possibly do that? Or could anybody else possibly do that? Yes. You have no idea what's in store for yourself, in the future. So why would you tell yourself you can't do that now?
That's an incredible answer, man. This has been an incredible experience. You're an incredible person, an incredible ball
Thank you.
player. Theo
Appreciate it.
Denlinger, you guys will be seeing him on the mound in Southside Chicago next year. That is a promise, if not from him, from me. We're excited to see it happen, man. All the work you've been putting in and just
Thank you.
everything that's going for you. I thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you, man, and having a chance to sit down and talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. And this was one of the best interviews I've done. An hour and a half of talking, and it feels like 15, 30 minutes. This is incredible. So I thank you so much for letting me be able to do this interview with you, and just being able to talk to you and talk baseball and talk blacksmithing, my two favorite things in the world. So thank you so much for doing this with me and letting me be a part of this.
That's a great compliment, man. I'm going to be taking that one to the bank. Thank you so much.